You might be familiar with these two bottles, not necessarily this one, but certainly this brand. Ladies and gentlemen, join me today as I walk you through the history of rum and Barbados. This may take a while, this might be a long video, so strap in, pour yourself something nice. Of those two bottles you saw there, the one we will be tasting and reviewing is the Foursquare 2010 Exceptional Cask Selection, I should say. We will do a review of the RL Seale 10-year-old, we will briefly talk about it as well. But pour yourself a glass, I've got mine here, and lean back for the history of Barbados, everyone. So, in the 1600s, Barbados became England's first great sugar colony in the 1640s. Sugarcane dominated the island, molasses byproducts were fermented and distilled into a harsh spirit called kill devil, or rum bullion. The first written references appear in the 1650s, noted by Richard Ligon in his 1657 account of Barbados. By the mid-17th century, rum was firmly established on plantations alongside sugar production. In the 1700s, specifically in 1703, a deed recorded distilling equipment at what we now know as the Mount Gay Distillery, regarded as the world's oldest continuously operating rum distillery. Throughout the 18th century, Barbadian rum fueled trade networks supplying North America, the Royal Navy, and then British trade laws like the Molasses Act of 1733 and the Sugar Act of 1764 reshaped those flows, privileging British islands such as Barbados. Within the 1800s, we had the Industrial Revolution. That didn't just affect Great Britain, it also affected all of the islands under the Empire and most of the Empire. By the 19th century, technology modernised rum production. In 1893, the West Indies Rum Distillery was built on Brighton Beach and is still there today, using column stills for large-scale exports. At the same time, rum brands began to emerge from merchant houses and trading firms, not only across the Caribbean, but indeed across different parts of the world too. In the 1900s, or a bit further back, about 1884, the Handshell Company introduced Cockspur rum, and in 1908, Dawley's appeared, a very important brand for the brand we are talking about today. And it was later revived by the RL Seale Company, founded in 1926. Mount Gay continued to grow as a global brand, and by the late 20th century, consolidation reduced Barbados to a handful of key producers: Mount Gay, the West Indies Rum Distillery, Foursquare, which is the subject of today, and now St. Nicholas Abbey. Foursquare and the modern era, so from the 1900s to the 2000s, specifically in 1996, the Foursquare Distillery was established on a historic sugar plantation by Richard Seale, combining pot and column stills with tropical aging. In 2006, the St. Nicholas Abbey began producing rum on one of the island's oldest estates, emphasising both heritage and estate production across the whole island of Barbados. The identity and standards of modern sort of buy-in rum, Barbados today has 4 distilleries: Mount Gay, West Indies, Foursquare, and St. Nicholas Abbey. Producers debate the idea of a geographical indication to protect Barbados rum. It's very typically molasses-based, it's distilled in pot and column stills, aged on the island, and bottled without any additional sugar. Mount Gay, Foursquare, and St. Nicholas Abbey support strict rules, whereas the West Indies Rum Distillery, or as you may know them, Plantaray, formerly known as Plantation, pushes for broader definitions reflecting its history of blending and exports within the rum industry. The legacy of this is that from the 17th century Kill Devil to today's globally awarded rums, Barbados is recognised as the birthplace of modern rum. Its distilleries preserve centuries of tradition while shaping modern standards for authenticity and quality. And with that very brief summarised history, let us talk about the Foursquare Distillery, the subject of today's lovely video. So Foursquare Distillery sits on the grounds of the former Foursquare Plantation in the St. Philip's Parish section of Barbados. The site has been tied to sugar production since 1636, when a sugar mill first operated there. For centuries, Barbados's economy and culture revolved around sugar, and rum naturally followed. So in 1926, Reginald Leon Seale, founder of RL Seale and Company, because of the time, local laws forbade direct retail sales of spirits. Over the decades, the Seals acquired several buy-in rum brands, including Old Brigand and ESA Field, securing their place in the island's rum history. The birth of the Foursquare Distillery itself, so by the 1990s the plantation had fallen silent, but in 1996 Sir David Seale renovated and reopened the site as the Foursquare Distillery. Today it is the only 100% Barbadian-owned distillery, a point of proud difference in the industry so often dominated by multinationals and conglomerates. What makes Foursquare so different? Why is Foursquare sought after? Well, I'll tell you now. So what sets Foursquare apart is their innovative approach to rum. So fermentation begins with a two-step process using South African yeasts and Guyanese molasses. Distillation combines traditional depth of flavour with pot still and the precision distillation nature of a column still, operating at a very unique percentage of both 94 and 95% ABVs. And aging is often constantly in ex-bourbon in a tropical climate with some quite experimental finishes in sherry, port, Madeira, Zinfandel casks. No added sugar, no caramel colouring, no filtration, just rum. Not necessarily always cask strength, but certainly just rum. Although what we will be trying today will be cask strength. What we are trying is from the Exceptional Cask series. Leading the charge today is Richard Seale, 4th generation distiller, grandson of R.L. Seale, known for his outspoken and defence of pure rum. Richard curates the Exceptional Cask Selection, a series of limited releases that showcase bold, unique aging and blending experiments, which we'll talk about in a minute. Beyond rum making, if you ever visit the Foursquare Distillery, which I plan to do one day, Foursquare also offers a heritage park, a mix of restored colonial buildings, a folk museum, a chance to taste their expressions right where they're made. Obviously it's picked up numerous awards, most recently I think last year their 14-year-old Equipoise, which I can't remember the finish it was in, it was an extremely dark rum. Won the Rum Trophy, IWSC, picked up every big award really. So from the 17th century sugar mill through to the 21st century icon, the Foursquare Distillery stands as a symbol of Barbadian heritage and tradition as well as modern innovation. Now what I'm going to talk to you about here doesn't have a particularly unusual name. Sometimes you'll note that these Exceptional Cask series tend to have almost very like Lovecraftian villainous names. None of them are particularly springing to mind, but I've tried a few of them over the years. They've always got very catchy titles, whereas this one is simply the 2010 single rum blend. So in another interesting turn, this is a single blend. So pot still distillate and column still distillate put together under one roof. Not something you do see within Scotch whisky. The Scotch Whisky Association don't particularly like that phrase. A few distilleries can produce single blends. I don't think it's necessarily worth the hassle from the SWA. Whereas what we have here is the R.L. Seale 10-year-old, named after the original founder of the company. This, you'll notice, has a very strange shape. It's got this kind of bent lid. Almost looks like that old vintage Glenmorangie bottle. This is shaped after the leather flask, I suppose you could say, that pirates would have around their belts to hold their rum stash with. So this certainly throws things back to, you know, literal Pirates of the Caribbean in that sort of sense. If you've never done any reading on the history of rum, I would highly recommend it. There's some fantastic books out there. Not necessarily about the cocktail side of things, but certainly about the way it was formed and the people who formed it, because that's extremely interesting. But let's get on to the rum. Here it is. This is bottled at 60% ABV. It's 12 years old, and it is all from ex-bourbon. Just a huge hit of Coca-Cola, brown sugar. Loads of fresh mint and milk chocolate. It's so just creamy and over the top. The mint thing's really interesting. It's really bright and really floral. And then out of nowhere, this milky chocolate just kind of pulls you into the depths of it all. It's lime, it's like lime juice. You do get the 60% on the nose, I can't deny that. It does kind of throw itself at you. Those brown sugar notes, man, those caramelized, dense, fudgy, rich, unctuous notes of rum. Oh, it just pulls you in. It's quite pecany as well, like maple, pecan, butter, pastry. Let's taste it and see where we're at. It's incredibly dry, as you would expect from 60% ABV. But those notes of mint, lime and chocolate are unbridled. You do feel the oak, even though it's only a 12-year-old product, you're going to feel the oak more because it's aged in a tropical climate, much like with Kavalan and Indian whiskies and loads of other sort of subtropical whiskies too. And even with that dryness and that 60%, it's not the most over-the-top thing. It smells incredibly indulgent, but the taste is mellow and tobacco-y and sweet and earthy. You know, to sit on a Bayan beach with a glass of this stuff would be an utter treat. I do hope to get to that point someday. Just a rum with tremendous layer and qualities to it. If you're interested in this series, they are typically released one part of the year. It's normally the latter part of the year, and they retail for anywhere between about 90 to 100 pounds a bottle. But I can see my memory card is about to run out of space, so thank you all for joining me. That was a brief trip of Barbados and Barbados rum and everything fun that comes with it. Hopefully you can try these things, please do. And if you're enjoying these series, do let me know below, because we'll continue with more of them. We are about to get into the whiskey side of things for Big Flavour Friday, and the list is impressive. So I'll see you all soon, and have a wonderful day.